We're going to talk a little bit about the history of Cincinnati, Ohio. So Cincinnati is known for being called the Queen City of the West. After Cincinnati was initially settled in the 1780s and 1790s, it experienced phenomenal growth. Incorporated as a town in 1802 and an official city in 1819, Cincinnati exploded as a center of arts and commerce. The city quickly became a creative and economic hub over the next 40 years and attracted thousands of new settlers. By 1820, Cincinnati locals had begun calling it the Queen City and the Queen of the West in conversations and local writings, in reference to the culture, arts, and civilization the city offered in the midst of wildness of the emerging West. As I said before, Cincinnati was initially settled in the 1780s, but to be more specific, Cincinnati was founded on December in 1788 by Matthias Denman, Israel Ludlow, and Robert Patterson. So going into further detail about the Queen City, in 1790, the governor of the Northwest Territory, Arthur St. Clair, proceeded to establish Hamilton County and made Louisantaville the county seat. St. Clair disliked the name Louisantaville and changed the town's name to Cincinnati. The town's name is recognition of the Roman citizen soldier Cincinnatus. It is also an acknowledgement of the Society of Cincinnati. General St. Clair was a member of this association of former officers of the Revolutionary War. An additional 250 families arrived later that year, swelling the town's population to nearly 700 people. Now that you guys have a brief history of Cincinnati, the Queen City, getting to know more of where the name originated from, when it was initially settled, and just learning more about the growth and the phenomenal growth, I should say, of that city, we're going to go straight into genres in Cincinnati. So notable genres in Cincinnati, those genres are R&B, pop, rock and roll, indie, and alternative. But specifically today, we're going to be focusing on three important artists, which are the Isley Brothers, Bootsy Collins, and Walk the Moon. The Isley Brothers were born and raised in Cincinnati, Ohio. They were first formed in the 50s. Their genre, they mainly focused on R&B, pop, and rock. They were the most influential and had the most diverse career in popular music. Their music transformed from gritty R&B to Motown, soul, to funk. They had music-influential parents. Their parents were both influenced heavily on music. Their father was a professional vocalist, and their mother was a church pianist. They stayed relevant through decades and for different generations. The Isley Brothers is a group synonymous with R&B music. They are responsible for producing some of the most iconic, recognizable, and enduring R&B hits like It's Your Thing, That Lady Parts 1 and 2, Twist and Shout, and Summer Breeze. In total, the Isley Brothers have produced 14 Billboard Top 100 singles and 7 number 1 Billboard R&B hit singles. 10 of their albums had landed in the Billboard 200. The group was also awarded a Grammy Award for Best Rhythm and Blues Vocal Performance for It's Your Thing in the 1970s. They were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1992 and into the Grammy Award Hall of Fame in 1999. But even though all these great things happened, they still remained an underrated and underappreciated force in popular music. They have won only one Grammy Award, which I talked about, and remain better known as an influence than as hitmakers. Now we're going to talk about Bootsy Collins. He was born in Cincinnati. He was one of the all-time great funk and R&B bassists. and he was also a member of Parliament, Funkadelic, and Science Faction. With Bootsy Collins being an all-time great, he inspired clever progressions and patterns, and they were vital parts of many recordings like Tear the Roof Off the Sucker, Bootzilla, and Casper the Friendly Ghost. Obviously, these are very worldly songs, but it's great. He also recorded as both a solo artist and with the rubber band in the 80s. He also did some special projects such as a 1984 collaboration with Jerry Harrison of Talking Heads using the name Bonzo Goes to Washington. And then continuing on more about what he's done, in 1988 he returned on Columbia with the appropriately named What's Bootsy Doin'? And then in 1989, Bootsy was a member of the Bootzilla Orchestra on Malcolm McLaurin's album, Waltz Dancing. And then 1 year later, he became a featured guitarist and bassist with the dance music trio D-Lit, signed with Fourth and Broadway, and also toured England with a group co-ed by Parker and Wesley. Walk the Moon was formed in the late 2000s. The lead singer, Nicholas Petrica, started the band in 2006, and they have major hits like Shut Up and Dance, Different Colors, 1 Foot, and Aquaman. Now that we finished talking about those 3 important artists, we're going to talk about King Records. So King Records was founded by Cincinnati businessman Sid Nathan, and he launched King Records in 1943. It was the most important, successful, and influential record company in history. It launched the career of artists like James Brown, and it also put Cincinnati on the map as the birthplace of rock and roll. King started as a so-called hillbilly label in 1943 and moved into race music, the one-time name for what became rhythm and blues, around 1945, and attempted in ways, great and small, to merge both audiences until it essentially shut down a few years after the death of its owner, Sid Nathan. It never achieved the household name status of Stax or Motown, but the crowd wants to change that. The owner, Sid Nathan, gave the world bluegrass, R&B, rock and roll, doo-wop, country, soul, and funk. So in conclusion, even though Cincinnati is not the first city you think of when pondering about regional rankings in music business, it is a thriving city of local music and rich history.